Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Bowling, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Bob Beckel, Dana Perino, and Andrea Tanteros, and this is The Five. Welcome, everybody. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, especially on a Friday, but there's no hiding from today's free fall in the American economy. Thanks to a dismal jobs report released today, the unemployment rate jumped to 8.2%. Underemployment skyrocketed to 14.8%. 766,000 more women are on the unemployment line today under President Obama, and a record 24% of young people are out of work. And the news got worse all day long as the stock market fell off a cliff, giving back all of 2012 gains and more today. To his credit, though, President Obama recognized the severity of the situation. He hit the podium to offer some ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
You know, if you got $3,000 a year extra, that helps you pay down your credit cards. That helps you go out and buy some things that your family needs, which is good for business. Maybe somebody will be replacing some thingamajig for their furnace.
Replace some thingamajigs for their furnace. Bob, that's how he's going to solve the problem of jobs in America? In June, replace thingamajigs for furnaces?
Let me just say how much I believed when you said, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I've never seen you so ecstatic at the opening of a show. Are they bad? Are they bad reports? Of course they are. Does it make Obama that much more of an underdog? Yes, it does. The only good sliver of good news in here is that 600,000 some odd people came back in looking for jobs in the workforce, which means they had some optimism about it. But you can't cut this any other way. It's a bad report. The only good news about it is it got 3 more reports for Election Day.
4 more. By the way, I'm not happy when the unemployment rate, when jobs aren't created. I'm certainly not happy when the stock market crashes.
He's happy because it's Friday,
Yes, you are.
Happy because it's Friday.
No, he's happy because of that.
Dana, tone deaf, the President, is he tone? What was that all about today?
Well, you don't know that far in advance what the numbers are going to be. And in fact, I'd love to find out, how do the economists get the predictions so wrong? I mean, because pretty much everybody was off. Okay, so then the numbers come in today. Lots of people are surprised that then the stock market reacts. I think it would have been an interesting and good move, not politically, but as president, if today he would have said to his team, look, I know we're going to do this event in Minnesota. It's an official event. I have 6 other fundraisers tonight. I'm going to let those go. I'm going to send somebody else in my place. I'm heading back to Washington. I'm going to meet with my cabinet. Tomorrow, I'm going to ask the Republican leadership to come down on Monday because we need to focus and set politics aside for a minute, because it feels like even if there are 4 more jobs reports between now and November, so what's happening in between then? What's anybody doing about any of this? And in the meantime, we wait to try to find out what's going to happen in Europe.
Well, listen, furnaces in summertime, I got to tell you, that's a brilliant strategy. So many people will be using their furnace in June,
and
July,
you know
and
how
August.
many thingamajigs
Lots
you
of
can replace
thingamajigs, Eric.
In furnaces in the summer?
I don't know how to. I mean, Bob's right. There was that little bit of economic news that was a little glimmer of hope, but all the other data was bad. Yeah. Manufacturing jobs cut. Job cuts rose 53%. In 1 month from April to May. That's the worst slide since we saw in September. If I'm the White House and if I'm the campaign, what are you going to run on? I mean, that's the question that I would be asking, that they must be sitting around a room saying, what's the message? Because remember, if he didn't fix it today out on the campaign stump, he said we need more time. But he's the one who said if we don't fix it, I should be a one-term president. So you can't just pillage Mitt Romney on this. You have to give voters a positive reason to pull the lever for you, and he hasn't done that.
No. Kimbo?
Yeah.
Kimbo Slice?
You know, all I can think about? Yeah, go ahead.
766,000 fewer women in the workforce today than when President Obama took over.
24% less.
Who's got a war on women?
People.
Is it Mitt Romney or is it President Obama?
I don't know. I mean, he's definitely doesn't have anything to celebrate today, and I'm wondering if the Bushes actually gave him the number and card of a good moving company, because me thinks somebody going to be out of a job too.
Can he get reelected with
How
the
can
unemployment
you?
numbers like this?
I mean, it would have to be just on his good looks and personality or something, or dance moves, because these numbers are horrible. I actually almost feel sorry for him, because it seems like he's just at the bottom of the abyss. There's no ladder and no rope to pull him out. How do you correct this, Bob? I'm curious.
I'm sure you're feeling sorry for him. I can feel the pain from right next to you. Look, here's the couple of things we've got to keep in mind is that Our biggest market, Europe, has crashed, and that has hurt us a lot. There's not much he can do about that. There are some signs, I think, that there may be some upside to this. But remember this, that unemployment figures have nothing to do with re-elections. We've gone back over this over and over and over again. What does have an impact is disposable income in your pocket. And the one good news is that the price of gasoline has got. Excuse me, can I finish?
You finish, but stop throwing out something first that's clearly refutable, and then throw out a number that's not good. Go ahead.
You're saying it's refutable because a bunch of political scientists said nobody's been reelected with 7.2% unemployment. That's only been about 8 elections, which does not a statistic make. But the disposable income goes back a long way. And the price of gasoline has fallen. That puts more disposable income in people's pocket. That's about the best thing you could say. But the one thing I will say about Barack Obama, how'd you get out of it? One answer, Mitt Romney. And Mitt Romney is just ain't up to this job.
You can't just go on Mitt Romney alone. And yesterday, the president said, in my second term, I'll fix Obamacare. If I'm a voter now, I'm saying you spent the first 4 years passing this monstrosity
that needs fixing,
that we know nothing about, and now you want another chance so you can fix it? That's a terrible argument, Bob.
I want to pick up on that.
He looked off his game. He's rattled.
I want to pick up on that because I do think there is this underlying anxiety about some of the things that have happened in the last 3.5 years that is causing the current flat or the slowish growth of our economy, which is, 1, the stimulus didn't work. 2, that taxes are uncertain. People do not know. We are facing a slew of tax increases in January, and businesses can't plan. You have the health care bill that is hanging in the balance, and you have the Dodd-Frank, which is the banking rules that are still being written, and things still feel too big to fail, but too big to rescue. No one's really sure what's going on. So there's all of this uncertainty, which President Obama actually could do something about now as president, not as candidate, that I think would behoove them to try to do.
Well, if you're saying the stimulus failed, from the time the first stimulus check went out in June till now, we've created 4.5 million jobs. But leaving that aside, the Marist NBC poll that came out, which I found very interesting. Danny, you're not going to like this, but I'm not suggesting this is something you're going to be able to hang on Bush. But in the 3 battleground states that they polled, over 50% in every one of those states believe that the reason for this recession is because Obama inherited a terrible one from George Bush. Now, that's something at 3 years down the road or going to your 4th year is something I was surprised to see would last that long.
Okay, but just newsflash, George Bush is not on the ballot, remember?
No,
and in that same poll, Bob, in that same poll, Romney's likability did go up.
Increase.
Which is a big
from 33
deal
to
because
38,
Obama's had the edge.
So what?
We want to move on to a little bit, some stuff from yesterday. But first, Bob, number one, no president has in fact been elected with higher than 7.4%.
How far back does that go?
That's number one. Number two, stimulus checks went out. $862 billion were spent. If you want to take dollars per job, Dana's right. Your numbers are wrong. And what was the third one you just said?
We didn't do the dollars per job.
How much?
Well, this came out yesterday. It's somewhere, depending on how they average it out. But regardless of the jobs that were created under stimulus, it was either $540,000 to $4.1 million cost per job. So you could have cut and sent checks.
Why didn't
to
you?
all the unemployed for that amount of money and had the same impact.
Could we remember the $235 million of the stimulus was job cuts, or it was tax cuts for small business?
All right, we do know that $100 billion about of the stimulus money went towards green energy projects. Can we hear Mitt Romney at Solyndra yesterday?
If the business had done spectacularly well, the shareholders, his friends, would have done very, very well. On the other hand, of course, if the business failed, as it did, it's the taxpayers that get stuck with losing $500 million. So it's heads and his cronies win, and tails and the taxpayers lose.
Bingo.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, because it's so smart for him to go to Solyndra, because when he's talking to the voters, he's talking about their money that was wasted. And when Obama comes out and talks about Bain Capital, he's talking about private money, and he doesn't even have the support of Democrats to back him up. So his one little message that he has isn't working, and Mitt Romney has a much stronger case.
If they sold off all of the Solyndra stuff, like even the pencil cups and the desks got sold off, but why didn't they take the sign down? Instead, it was like they were waiting for that.
When Enron went under, the guys at Enron were the biggest jerks on the planet. They hated everyone. They ran people over. They took them out.
I thought that was
when
a great
Enron went belly up,
company.
when Enron went belly up, I tried to buy the Crooked E. I wanted to buy it on sign. I wanted to put it right on my front lawn. Someone bought it. It was $40.
Put that on eBay.
Mitt Romney made an allegation yesterday which was absolutely obscene, and that was he said it was crony capitalism, and he said that Obama's contributors profited from this. He cannot prove that. He's wrong. And I noticed when I asked the question about why were you 47th in the country in job creation, he ducked it.
Well, first of all, he inherited that from his predecessor, so I mean, maybe we could take that into
we inherited
consideration.
from Bush, so there you go.
And I think the other thing, to your point about the tax cuts and the stimulus bill, part of the problem is what I said before, which is there's no certainty, there's no permanence. So a one-time tax cut does not a growing, strong economy make. That's been proven, and now Romney's challenge is to say how he would make it different. And Andrea and Kimberly had it right as well, which is you cannot just run against somebody. You have to be for something. And what is the White House running on? That is still
and I think
incredibly
this is
improved
one,
economy between now and the time that he inherited it.
I think this is one case where Mitt Romney can win by not running for anything. It can be Obama's
He doesn't have to be,
Obamanomic fail that can actually win it for Romney. Can we play the soundbite of Bill Clinton saying something that we said right here at this table, that this Bain strategy might not be a good idea? Listen.
And I think he had a good business career. If you go in and you try to save a failing company, you can go into a company, have cutbacks, try to make it more productive with the purpose of saving it. And when you try, like anything else you try, you don't always succeed. So I don't think that we ought to get into the position where we say this is bad work. This is good work.
Whoopsie.
See, here's the problem why he's not going to get reelected, meaning Obama, because he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it in the people around him. If he had a little bit more Clinton in him, he would understand and move more to the center and be more sensible about the economy and stop trying to tag team on Romney with this Bain thing, which is failing.
Are you stating that he's not getting reelected right now? Is that what you're saying?
Let's stick on Clinton.
I'm saying if the election were held tomorrow, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, he would not win.
And think about this.
That's
This is on the heels of Harold Ford Jr., Cory Booker, Dianne Feinstein, Deval Patrick, Ed Rendell, all Democrats saying the same thing. It's not just Bill Clinton saying it. And I have to say, we talked about this on the Five a lot, the expectations that the White House raised for themselves in 2008. They were the ones that said if we didn't pass the stimulus, unemployment would go above 8%. They were the ones that made all these predictions. And by the way, where's the rest of that stimulus money?
Exactly.
Dana sent out a great chart this morning that showed with the stimulus that the White House put out, with Christina Romer and the White House put out, with the stimulus that unemployment would never go above 8%, and then this time in the recovery it would be under 5 or 5.5%, and without the stimulus it would be as high as 6 or 6.5%. Meanwhile, we're 8.2%.
That was a hard thing when they first did that. When they first came out with their prediction, I thought, you never know. You can't tell that far in advance. Circumstances or whatever you want to blame it on in the future, you don't know. That's the same goes for the stock market and recovery summer. This will be the fourth.
But guess what it is?
Are you all suggesting that putting $1 trillion in the economy that it lost jobs as a result of that?
No, I'm saying it didn't do as promised.
But all he talks about
do as promised, but it did quite well.
Can we play one more soundbite?
Yeah, let's do another edited soundbite.
David Axelrod, who was on the campaign trail as the surrogate for President Barack Obama when he was handing over when he was unveiling the portrait. Listen to Axelrod yesterday.
I get tweets from some of these folks, so I feel close to them. But you can shout down speakers, my friends, but it's hard to etch-a-sketch the truth away.
That was lame. Sorry. Public.
I would, if I were him, I would not have gone up there. But could I make one other point? The people that you listed, including Bill Clinton, were all incredibly large contributors from the people like Bain. So
Jay Carney couldn't even explain the difference between Solyndra and Bain.
But they're also
But anyway, going back to Axelrod, I think Axelrod, any time a political consultant gets out and does a rally, you know you're in some trouble. You should not, as a cardinal rule of political consulting, is you don't get out and do a rally for your candidate.
I think that he went because they're afraid to send anybody else out because they're afraid of what they're going to say.
All right. Gotta go. Gotta leave it there. You're not going to believe this one, or maybe you will. Less than 24 hours after John Edwards gets off the hook, his mistress at the center of the scandal is already cashing in. We got some details.
Same old story, same old song and dance.